The first thing I noticed about her was not her body. It was the smell. Warm bread and brown butter rolled out of the bakery door like it had been waiting just for me. It hit my chest, slid under my ribs, and pulled me one step closer before I even decided to move. Lavender Hart's place, Nasir said beside me. You sure you want to be seen here? The committee people. I don't care about being seen, I said. I care about being recorded. That part was true. In my world, nothing was just casual. Across the street, an SUV with dark windows had been parked too long. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was someone watching. I didn't like unknown cameras pointed at the people I was supposed to protect. Do you want me to call Tokyo? Nasir asked. They're already nervous about the deal. Not yet, I said. Tokyo was a deal big enough to move our quarter. My face was already on finance blogs and charity posters. But right now I turned my phone face down, because in the bakery window, I saw her. Lavender. She stood behind the display case in a soft t-shirt and apron, her body full and solid, curves pressed into the tiny space like the room hadn't been built with her in mind. Her hands moved fast and careful. Tongs, parchment, tray. When the door opened for a customer, she lifted the tray too high, like she was using it as a shield. A man in a polo shirt leaned over the counter, talking at her, not to her. His voice carried through the glass. Your rent is late, he said. Your invoices are wrong. You want to keep that spot on Maple? Fix it. Lavender's shoulders stayed straight. Her eyes did not. She was trying to make herself small in a room that already wanted to shrink her. The bell over the door rang when I stepped inside. Heat hit me first, then sugar, then vanilla, under it all the faint bite of cleaning spray. It was not a boardroom. It was work. Real work. The kind that leaves flour on your shirt and lines on your face. Lavender looked up. Her eyes caught on my suit, then on the watch at my wrist. Recognition flashed. She knew my name from articles and committee pictures. Adrielle Kane, the board's favorite hammer. That didn't mean she knew what my voice sounded like when I wasn't smiling for a camera. Her gaze slid past me to Nasir, then to the door, counting exits. Counting risks. I like that. People who survive pay attention. Hi, she said, careful, almost formal. She shifted the tray up in front of her chest again like she expected a hit. The man in the polo turned. His eyes ran over my clothes, then over the calm way my hands rested at my sides. You can't just walk in here, he snapped. I can't, I said. It's a public business. Unless you've got a court order in your pocket. Nasir moved behind me and to the side, an old habit. My shadow with a notes app. Lavender's lips parted. She looked at me like she was trying to place where we'd met before, even though we hadn't. Adrielle, I said to her, like this was a meeting we'd planned. The man forced a smile. Sir, you don't understand. This tenant is in breach of contract. She's behind. Who are you? I asked. He straightened. Dane Van Doran. Property management. Show me the vendor agreement, I said. He scoffed. You can't just show me the agreement you're using to threaten her. I repeated, same tone, same volume. No heat. Negotiation is not about shouting. It's about certainty. Lavender's fingers tightened around the tray. Her knuckles went pale against the metal. Van Doran pulled a folder from under his arm like he had been waiting for someone important to watch his performance. Here, he said, dropping it onto the counter. Section 12. Late fees. Termination clause. I didn't open it yet. I looked at Lavender instead. Did you sign this? I asked. She swallowed. I signed something when I took the space. My old landlord sold the building. Then the committee came. Then this. Van Doran smiled. In a way that made my skin crawl. The committee requires standards, sweetheart. You can't be sloppy. Nasir's jaw went tight at sweetheart. Lavender's face stayed neutral, but her breathing picked up. Tiny changes. The kind you only see when you're trained to watch. I stepped half a step to the side, setting my body between her and the door without making a show of it. If anyone rushed the room, they would hit me first. Lavender's eyes flicked to my shoulder. She noticed. Nasir, I said. Photo the signature page. He lifted his phone, quiet as always. You can't do that, Van Doran snapped. I can, I said. It's evidence for a potential dispute. If you want me to stop, call the police. He didn't call anyone. Bullies rarely do when the room stops belonging to them. I finally flipped the agreement open. Cheap paper. Clip art logo. I turned to the back. Lavender's name was there. The handwriting looked like hers. The initials on the extra clause did not. Van Doran, I said. This addendum was not initialed by Lavender. He snorted. She agreed verbally. In this state, changes to a commercial lease are not made by verbal agreement, I said. If you're going to claim that, you need documentation. Time. Witnesses. Something. Otherwise, it's just you waving paper. Lavender stared at me like the floor had shifted a little. You can't intimidate me, Van Doran said. I'm not intimidating you, I said. I'm telling you what happens next. I slid the agreement back across the counter. Lavender, I said. Do you have your rent invoices? Your payment records? Bank receipts? She hesitated, then nodded. Back office. Go, I said. She moved fast now, tray finally lowered, apron brushing her hips. Van Doran started to follow. I didn't touch him. I just turned with him, my frame filling the narrow gap. He stopped. His eyes flicked up to my face and away again. Men who live off control hate finding a wall they can't move. Lavender came back with a thick binder hugged tight to her chest. The cover was scuffed, corners bent, a line of flour across the front. She set it down. Here. Inside were handwritten notes, bank printouts, email chains. Neat, cramped numbers. A record of every dollar like it mattered, because it did. 1 month had a yellow highlight where a payment date and a ledger didn't match. See, Van Doran said quickly. She's behind. Lavender's fingers dug into the edge of the counter. Not yet, I said. The receipt had a reference number. The bank statement had a transaction ID. Nasir, I said. Call the bank. Verify the transaction. Get a confirmation letter. If they stall, remind them we're requesting it under Lavender's authorization for a dispute. He was already dialing. Lavender's eyes stayed on my hands. When you live in a body the world stares at, you learn to trust actions, not smiles. Your ledger is missing credits, I said to Dane. Your late fees are compounded wrong. And your own contract requires written notice and 14 days to fix before termination. I turned the agreement and tapped the line with one finger. You're not terminating anything today. His face turned red. You can't. I can, I said. Again. The bell over the door rang as a woman with a stroller came in. Noise, witness, light. The moment shattered. Lavender tried to stand up straighter, tried to hide how hard her heart was pounding. I could see her breathing from where I stood. Van Doran shoved his file into his bag. Fine, he said. Enjoy your charity project. She's not a project, I said. She's the tenant. You're the risk. His eyes sharpened. He leaned close enough that only I could hear. You think you can protect her because you're rich? He hissed. I can ruin her with one email. I know, I said. That's why you're going to stop. He huffed a short laugh. Or what? I finally met his eyes head on. Or, you're going to learn what metadata looks like in court, I said. He blinked. What? I didn't explain. I let the words sit between us like a weight he couldn't pick up. Get out, I said. The muscles in his jaw jumped. He glanced at the woman with the stroller, at the other customer watching now. No easy audience for his act. He turned and pushed through the door. The bell rang once, sharp, and then the bakery went quiet. Lavender didn't move at first. She stared at the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Are you okay? Nasir asked gently from the door. I'm fine, she said. The words were too fast, too practiced. I didn't believe in fine. I believed in the facts in front of me. Sit, I told her. Her eyes flicked up. What? Sit. I repeated, same tone I used in boardrooms when people were about to argue with common sense. She sat on the stool behind the register. Her hands were empty now. She looked more unprotected, holding nothing than she had with that tray in front of her. Lock the door, I said to Nasir. And stand by it. He did. No questions. Lavender watched all of it, her face pale and stubborn at the same time. Why are you doing this? She whispered. I could have said a lot of things. I could have told her that she deserved better, that I liked the way she filled a room, that I hated men who used paperwork as a weapon. Instead, I gave her the one answer that fit both of us. Because he's abusing process, I said. And I don't tolerate that. Her throat moved. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. You didn't ask what I did wrong, she said. I saw your binder, I answered. People who run scams don't keep records like that. They hide. You document. Her shoulders dropped half an inch. My eyes slid to the small microphone sitting on a shelf near the register. Old, used for announcements during weekend markets. A simple cable coiled around the base. You use that for events? I asked. Sometimes, she said. The community center asked me to bring it later. Good, I said. We're going to use it for something else, too. Her brows pulled together. For what? Evidence, I said. And in that moment, with flour on her apron and fear still shaking her shoulders, I watched her fingers curl around the mic like it was the first solid tool anyone had ever put in her hand. The camera went up in the corner that same afternoon. It was small, no bigger than a pack of gum, but it changed the room. The little red light blinked once when I powered it on, then settled into a steady glow. It records motion, I told her. Face, voice time. Lavender stood beside me, arms folded over her apron like she was trying to hold herself in. Her eyes stayed on the camera, not on me. Feels weird, she said quietly. Being watched. You're being watched either way, I said. This just means you have proof. She let out a breath that sounded more like a laugh and a choke at the same time. Okay, she said. Proof. For the next week, I split my days between my regular life and her four walls. In my regular life, I sat in glass rooms while people in suits talked about Tokyo numbers and brand exposure and how my face looked on billboards. In her bakery, I watched her pipe frosting onto cupcakes while the morning sun lit the freckles on her cheeks. Flour dusted her hair. Her hands were fast and sure, even when her shoulders were tight. Every day, she asked, do you want coffee? Every day, I said, no. Eat something. She would roll her eyes like she was fine, and then take a bite of whatever she was testing and pretend that was for work, not for herself. The committee called me in on Thursday. The conference room was all glass and chrome. My reflection looked tired. Tie straight, jaw tight. A board member named Lal tapped his pen on a legal pad like a metronome. We need you at the winter gala, he said. Press is coming. The Feed Maple campaign is our big local push this year. Fine, I said. Send me the speech notes. He smiled in that way that never reached his eyes. About that, he said. Marketing had a fun idea. Human interest. We did a little raffle with the small business owners. A lunch with Adriel prize. He said it like I was assigned basketball. I kept my face still. Without asking me. Relax, he said. It is good PR. You take a photo, shake a hand, buy a salad. Everyone posts about how generous you are. It makes people forget we raised parking fees. Who won? I asked. Lal flipped a page. Lavender Heart, he said. The baker on Maple. My stomach went cold. Funny, right? He went on. Our finance kids had a field day with it. Did a whole chat thread. Adriel and the cupcake queen. Big man, big girl. You know how they are. My jaw locked. He slid his phone across the table like it was nothing. A group chat was open. I saw my own headshot pasted beside a blurry photo of Lavender from some event. Someone had typed, he won't fit in the booth with her. Laughing emojis. A cake emoji. A pig emoji. Blood roared in my ears. I slid the phone back. I will go, I said flat. Send me the time. Lal relaxed. Good. Try to smile. Make her feel special. You know, like a charity thing. He had no idea how hard I was working not to break his jaw. On Saturday, I walked back into the bakery in jeans and a gray t-shirt instead of a suit. The place was quieter than usual. Afternoon lull. Sun slanting through the front window. Lavender stood behind the counter in a navy wrap dress that hugged every curve. Her hair was down. She looked like she had tried, and then second-guessed trying, and then decided to try anyway. Her eyes were sharp and nervous. You clean up, I said, then caught myself and softened it. You look good. Color rose in her cheeks. You don't have to say that, she muttered. I don't say things I don't mean, I replied. She swallowed. They told me I won lunch with you. From the committee. I don't know who entered my name. I thought it was a joke at first. It was, I said. She stared at me, hurt flickering across her face so fast I almost missed it. I leaned on the counter, putting us closer, lowering my voice. It was a joke on me, I said. They thought it would be funny. Executive and the cupcake girl on a fake date. They laughed in a group chat about your body like it was something they could score points with. Lavender's hand went to her stomach, fast, like she had been punched. Oh, she whispered. So you felt tricked. I felt angry, I said. Not at you. At them. She looked like she did not know where to put her eyes, so she put them on the sugar jar. You don't have to do it, then, she said. The lunch. We can say I'm busy. Or I got sick. Or the ovens broke. Or, Lavender, I cut in. Do you want to have lunch with me? Her head lifted. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked at me like I had asked for something expensive. Yes, she said finally, so soft I almost didn't hear it. Then get your coat, I said. We're going. She stared at me. Like this. She gestured down at her body. Dress, apron, hips, all of it. Like you, I said. You look like yourself. That is the point. Her laugh came out sharp. Most people don't call that a point, Adrielle. They call it a problem. I am not most people, I said. We walked to a small restaurant 2 blocks away. Not the fancy steakhouse the board used for events. Not the cheap diner with sticky menus. A quiet place with real tables and good light. The host did a quick double take when he saw me. That flash of recognition people get when they know your name from headlines, but are afraid to say it wrong. Table for 2, I said. He hesitated, eyes flicking over Lavender, then over the tight space between chairs. Booth? He asked carefully. Table, I said. Center of the room. Lavender's hand brushed mine by accident. I could feel the tension running through her like a wire. When we sat down, she tugged her dress under her thighs, moving slow, like she was waiting for the chair to complain. It holds more than you think, I said quietly. Chairs, buildings, people. She let out a breath. Spoken like a man who spends a lot of time with numbers. I spent a lot of time with weight, I said. How things carry it. Where they crack. She looked at me then in a way that made it hard to breathe. The waiter brought water. Asked if we wanted wine. Not for me, she said fast, almost apologetic. If I drink, I'll eat everything in this place and then roll home. The waiter's smile flickered in that way I knew too well. Polite, twisted. He looked at her, then at me, like we were a joke. I held his gaze. We'll start with the bread, I said, and the house pasta, and the roast chicken, and that dessert board on the chalk menu. For 2. He blinked. Are you sure? It's a lot of food. Yes, I said. That is why we want it. His ears went pink. I'll put that in. When he left, Lavender hid her face in her hands. You didn't have to do that, she groaned. Yes, I said. I did. She dropped her hands. You just ordered half the menu. They're going to say things in the back. About me. They can say whatever they want when the door swings closed, I said. At the table, we eat. Her eyes shone with something that was not quite tears and not quite laughter. You're strange, she said. I hear that a lot. The food came fast. Bread warm, butter soft. Lavender watched my hands the way she watched the camera, like the way I moved mattered. I broke the bread and handed her the bigger piece on purpose. She froze for a second, then took it. Tokyo's calling you, you know, she said. Your assistant said you were supposed to be on a video call today. I heard him when he called to check the time. I already closed Tokyo, I said, pouring water. From your back office. She stared. From my bakery? Contracts don't care where I stand, I said. They care what I send. She looked down at the bread in her hand, then back up. So you chose to be here, she said. Yes. With me. Yes. Her tongue darted out to wet her bottom lip. I watched the way she fought not to smile. Halfway through the meal, her shoulders dropped. Her laugh got louder. She told me about 3 a.m. dough proofing and how old ladies from church still called her that big girl with the good rolls, like it was her whole identity. Is it? I asked. She shrugged one shoulder. Some days it's the only thing they remember about me. They don't remember my degree, or my business plan, or the fact I know the difference between profit and revenue better than half the guys at your fundraisers. They just remember that my thighs touch. I took a drink of water to keep my voice level. People are lazy, I said. Brains look for the fastest label. Easy to see, easy to repeat. That doesn't make it true. Lavender studied my face. You say that like you're outside of it, she said. But you're not. You're a label too. Adrielle Kane. Cold. Rich. Committee boy. Clean jawline. Clean life. I snorted. You think my life is clean? On paper, she said. I shook my head. On paper is ink. You haven't seen my house. She laughed, then covered her mouth, like the sound had betrayed her. The plates cleared, leaving only the dessert board between us. Bitten edges. Melted chocolate. Crumbs. Real life. She set her fork down and looked at me fully. No more jokes. No tray. No counter between us. So, she said quietly. Be honest. Her fingers twisted in the napkin. I found out about the group chat, she added. One of the baristas knows someone on your staff. They show me the screenshots. The emojis. The comments about my body. She took a breath that shook. I know you were tricked into this, she said. Into me. She held my eyes like it hurt. So, am I too much for you? The room got very quiet. Not in the way restaurants usually quiet down, with clinking plates and low talk in the background. This felt like someone had turned the volume down inside my chest. She sat across from me, fingers tight around the napkin, knuckles pale. Her question hung between us like a knife. So, am I too much for you? I could have dodged it. I could have joked. I could have thrown some smooth line I used in boardrooms. I did none of that. No, I said. One word. Solid. No air. Her throat moved like she had swallowed something sharp. You hesitated, she said. I did not, I answered. Her eyes narrowed a little. You always answer slow. You pick words like they cost money. They do, I said. Because once I spend them, I do not take them back. She flinched. Not because of me. Because of the people who had. I could see the ghosts in her eyes. Exes. Clients. Family. People who had said nice things and then ripped them away like discounts. I leaned forward, elbows on the table, lowering my voice. They tried to turn you into a joke, I said. A punishment. A dare. Let's see how he reacts to the big girl, like you are a bad blind date. That is not on you. That is on them. Her jaw clenched. You still could have said no. You could have backed out when you saw me. I did see you, I said. And I stayed. She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she was trying to find a new angle where she still ended up being the problem. You don't even know me, she said. You know my binder. My receipts. My invoices. I let the smallest smile touch my mouth. I know a few other things, I said. Her eyes flashed. Like what? I know you get here before sunrise to prep dough, I said. And you stay past closing to scrub the floor until your back hurts, because you do not want anyone saying the big girl runs a dirty shop. She looked like I had slapped her with accuracy. I know you keep careful records, I went on, because you believe the only way to exist in a body like yours is to be perfect, so nobody has an excuse to push you. Her lip trembled. I know you give away leftover bread at the end of the day, I said. You tell yourself it is to reduce waste, but you always hand the best loaves to the kids who come in late with wrinkled dollar bills. Lavender blinked hard. I know, I said softer, that when you are stressed, you pretend you are not hungry. You feed everyone in the room except yourself. Her shoulders drooped like I had just opened a secret she wanted to keep. I study numbers, I said, but I watch people. She stared at me for a long beat. My body is not something you can fix with a spreadsheet, Adrielle, she whispered. I am not trying to fix it, I said. I am trying to make sure nobody gets to weaponize it against you again. Her eyes shone. That sounds like charity. It is not charity, I said. It is protection. There is a difference. How? She whispered. Charity says, I am above you. Let me pull you up, I said. Protection says, I stand next to you, and if they want to hit you, they have to go through me. Something in her expression cracked. Not broken, just open. She looked down at the napkin, twisted it once more. Then she let it fall onto the table. You know what guys say when they break up with me? She asked quietly. I kept my face still. Tell me. They say I am too much, she said. Too emotional. Too big. Too needy. Too loud. Too soft. It depends on the day. All the words change, but the message stays the same. My body walks in first, and they decide everything else about me before I open my mouth. I listened. It hurt, but I listened. She was not asking for pity. She was laying down evidence. When I saw that chat, she said, I thought, of course. Of course they picked me as the joke. Of course they threw my body in your face to test you. Of course you would look at me and think, this is some kind of lesson. Her eyes rose slowly. I needed to know, she finished. If you saw me that way too. I did not look away. I was angry, I said, because they dared to use your body like a punchline. I was not angry at you. I was angry that they assumed I was that kind of man. She swallowed. And the truth, she pushed. Right now? With this dress. With my arms and my stomach and my everything in front of you. Do you feel tricked? I did not rush. I let myself feel the chair under me, the weight of my own chest, the warmth of the room. I feel set up, I said slowly. But not the way you think. She frowned. What does that mean? I feel like they accidentally set me up with someone I would have chosen on purpose, I said. And now I am trying not to take that out on them. Her breath caught. You would have chosen me, she asked, the words shaky. I nodded once. Without the committee, I said. Without the raffle. Without the camera, I walked into your bakery to handle a contract. I would have come back for the cake, and for the way you stand up straighter when you are scared. She did not speak. The silence stretched, but it was different now. Not empty. Full. The waiter came by with the check, eyes flicking between us like he had walked into a scene he did not understand. Together or separate? He asked. Together, I said. Lavender moved fast. No, she blurted. I can pay for mine. I don't want to be some pity date you pick up the whole tab for. It is not pity, I said. We are on a date. I invited you. I pay. Her eyebrows shot up. You invited me? Pretty sure the committee did. I invited you to stay, I said. Twice. Once at the counter. Once when you asked if I wanted lunch with you. She opened her mouth, paused, then shut it again. That part hit her harder than the bill. Let me ask you something, I added. If I were some average guy with an average job and an average face, would you be fighting this hard not to let me buy you dinner? She huffed. Yes. Liar, I said, a small smile touching my mouth. Her eyes flashed, but a smile tugged at her lips too. Okay, she said. Maybe not. Maybe I am just trying to stay ahead of the hurt. You do not have to stay ahead of me, I said. You can walk next to me. We left the restaurant as the sky turned pink over the buildings. The air had that early evening chill that crept through fabric. At the corner, we slowed. I should get back, she said. I have prep for tomorrow. Dote away. Trays to grease. You know, glamorous things. I will walk you, I said. You do not have to babysit me, she muttered. I am not babysitting, I said. I am escorting the woman who just had lunch with me back to her store. That is called manners. She rolled her eyes, but she did not argue. When we reached the bakery door, she stopped with her hand on the handle. Adrielle, she said. Yes. She searched my face like she was trying to find the glitch in the system. If you stay in this, she said, people are going to talk. Your friends, your staff, the board, and they're going to talk about me first. About how I look. About how you look next to me. All the comments, all the whispers. It is going to get ugly. I know, I said. And you still want to what? Keep seeing me. Yes. She stared. Why? Because I had never seen someone fight so hard just to exist in her own skin. Because the way she held that binder said more to me than any speech a CEO gave about resilience. Because when she stood next to me at the community meeting, shoulders squared, tray shaking, voice steady, I felt something settle in my chest that had nothing to do with PR. I did not say any of that. I stepped closer instead, close enough to feel her breath on my throat. Because I like who I am when I am in your bakery, I said. And I am not interested in going back to who I was before I walked in. Her eyes burned. That's a big answer, she whispered. It is a big question, I said. So I will ask you one now. She swallowed. What? Do you want me here? I asked. Or do you just want me when I am useful? She jerked back a tiny bit, like the words hit a bruised spot. She started, then stopped. I don't know if I know the difference. Then we will find it, I said. Slow. She looked up at me. Really looked. Then, as if she had made a choice, she nodded once. Okay, she said. Slow. Her hand left the door handle. Instead, she lifted it and set her palm flat against my chest, over my heartbeat. Testing. Last chance to run, she murmured. I covered her hand with mine and pressed it there, steady. Not running, I said. For the first time since I met her, Lavender did not try to make herself smaller. She did not pull the dress tighter. She did not hide behind a tray. She just stood in the doorway of her own life and let me stay. The committee email hit my inbox at 7 a.m. Subject. Donor brunch attendance required. I skimmed it standing at my kitchen counter, coffee in hand. Same hotel ballroom as always. Same casual networking, which was never casual. Same list of board members and strategic partners. Plus one line at the bottom. Vendors from the Maple Business Initiative will be present for catering. My eyes paused on the attached PDF. The catering schedule had time slots. Bakery. Savory Bites. Fresh Bread Station. Lavender Heart. Heart Crumb Bakery. I stared at her name for a long second. They had invited her into my world. And they thought it would scare me. Nasir knocked on my door frame like he already knew my answer. You saw it, he said. I saw it, I replied. You know what this is, he said. They want a show. Then we will give them one, I said. He exhaled. You sure you want to do this? Yes. Want me to lie to Tokyo and say your flight is delayed? He asked. No, I said. Tell them I am handling a key relationship. He snorted. You mean you are walking into a room full of rich people who think this is a game? Then we end the game, I said. By the time I walked into the hotel ballroom, the air smelled like coffee, citrus, and money. Round tables with white linens. Name tags on lanyards. Clusters of people in expensive shoes pretending they were not calculating each other's net worth. I felt every look as I stepped in. They always watched. That was fine. I was used to being observed. What I was not used to was caring who they watched me with. The bakery station sat near the far wall. A long table, rustic wood boards, baskets of sliced bread, small plates with spreads and butter. Lavender stood behind it in a black dress and white apron, hair pulled back. Her face was calm. Her shoulders betrayed her. I watched her tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear 3 times in under a minute. That was her tell. At the next table, 3 members of the organizing committee whispered over mimosas. One leaned toward the others, eyes on Lavender, lips curved in a mean little smile. I knew that look. I had seen it in the chat. Nasir came up beside me. You do not have to go to her right away, he murmured. They are watching. I know, I said. That is why we go now. We crossed the room. Conversations dipped in volume as we moved. Lavender saw us when we were halfway there. I watched her spine straighten. Her chin lifted 1 notch. Her hand tightened on the serving tongs. She was bracing for impact. Good morning, I said, stopping on her side of the table, not the guest's side. Her eyes flicked to my tie, my name tag, the people behind me, then back to my face. You came, she said softly. You invited me yesterday when you told me the new sourdough was ready, I said. I keep my appointments. Her mouth twitched. One of the committee women stepped up to the table. Mary, crisp white blazer, sharp red lipstick. Lavender, your spread looks lovely, she said, too bright. We are so glad the initiative could give you a chance to be here. She turned to me. Adrielle, it is good to see you putting in such effort with our local businesses. She must be very grateful. Lavender went very still. I smiled. Not the polite one. The cold one that said you just touched a live wire and did not know it. I am grateful, I said. Mary blinked. Sorry. I am grateful, I repeated. That she is here. This event is better with her product in the room. It reflects well on the committee that you chose real quality instead of just whoever looked good on a flyer. A couple of heads turned our way. Mary laughed a little too high. Of course. We try to be inclusive. The raffle idea was fun, right? When the team picked her name for your prize date, we all had a good laugh. I mean, what are the odds? Lavender's fingers crushed the bread sample she was holding. There it was. Out loud. My anger hit like a wave of heat. Not hot enough to burn my control, but enough to make the edges of my vision sharpen. I did not raise my voice. I did not laugh, I said. Mary's smile faltered. Well, you know what I mean. It was a joke. A harmless setup. A setup, I said, rolling the word slowly. Interesting choice. Behind Mary, one of the men from that first chat group shifted his weight. He knew exactly where this was going. Lavender, I said, keeping my eyes on Mary. Would you hand me a piece of the rye? Lavender hesitated, then placed a piece of bread in my hand. Our fingers touched. Just a second. Enough. I turned to face the nearest cluster of people. Some of you already know this, I said. The others might as well hear it clearly. The committee group chat thought it would be funny to raffle off a punishment date for me. The joke was that the winner would be an overweight woman. Gasps. A few nervous laughs died fast. They picked Lavender, I continued. Then they waited, hoping I would be embarrassed when I met her. They expected me to treat her body like a problem, like a test, like too much. I let the silence sit heavy. My heartbeat was steady. I had been in harder rooms than this. None of those rooms had Lavender in them. What they did not expect, I said, was that I would walk into her bakery, watch her work, see how she runs her business, review her contracts, and realize she is exactly the kind of partner I want in my corner. Lavender stared at me. Her eyes were wide, but she did not look away. Mary's face was flushed now. Adrielle, this is not the time to. It is exactly the time. I cut in. Because you all wear inclusion pins and talk about supporting small businesses, but you thought a woman's body was a joke big enough to build a game around. The room went very still. If anyone here still thinks my dating life is a committee project, I said, you can step away from her table now. You do not get to smile at her and laugh at her at the same time. One of the board members cleared his throat. We did not mean harm. It was poor taste, sure, but it was cruel, I said flat. On the word. His mouth snapped shut. I turned slightly, angling my body so I was clearly on Lavender's side of the table. So there was no confusion about where I stood. You want to know if she is too much for me? I asked. She is. She is more courage than most of you have shown in your lives. More work ethic than half of your portfolio companies. More honesty than the group chat that started this. A few people shifted back, like they had been slapped with data. I looked at Lavender finally. Her cheeks were flushed. Her eyes were bright. She looked like someone who was being seen and did not know yet if it was safe. Lavender, I said, if you want to leave, I will walk you out. If you want to stay, I will spend the whole morning at this table. Your choice. She glanced around. Faces. Phones. Whispers. Then she looked back at me. Her chin lifted. I am staying, she said. Then I stay, I replied. She breathed out a small laugh that sounded like letting go of a long-held breath. Mary cleared her throat. We can discuss this privately later, she said stiffly. No, Lavender said. Every head turned. Her voice was not loud, but it carried. No more private, she said. You joked about me in a group. You can hear about me in a room. She set down the tongs and wiped her palms on her apron. I am not a dare, she said. I am not a punishment. I run a bakery that pays taxes and feeds half the kids in my neighborhood. I keep books that could shame some of your foundations. I show up every day in a body that people think they can comment on for free. And I am tired. Her voice shook on that word. She steadied it. If you invite me to events, she said, you are inviting my whole self. Not just my pastries. Not just my smile. Not just my inspiring story. You take my size, my voice, my boundaries, all of it. Or you do not get me at all. Silence. Then, from somewhere near the back, a soft clap. Then another. Then more. Not everyone. Enough. Mary's face was tight. Of course, she said. We support you completely. I watched her eyes. She did not mean it. But she was pinned by the room now. That was enough for today. As people drifted forward to take samples, the noise rose again. The tension thinned, replaced by the clink of tongs and quiet praise. A woman in a navy dress leaned in. Your chocolate cake saved my bad week, she told Lavender. I brought my sister. She has been talking about your bread for days. Lavender's smile, this time, was small and real. When the first rush passed, I moved to stand right beside her behind the table. Close. Clear. You did well, I said. I thought I was going to throw up, she answered. You did not, I said. You stood. She let out a shaky breath. You really just did that. Yes. In front of everyone. Yes. You know they are going to talk about you two now, she said. About the powerful guy dating the fat baker. I shrugged. Let them waste their time. I have better things to focus on. Like what? She asked. I looked down at her hand, resting on the edge of the table. I covered it with mine. Like you, I said. And your next lease. And your next expansion. And maybe, if you let me, your next day off. Her fingers curled around mine, warm and solid. Am I too? Much for you? She asked again, quieter this time. The question changed now. Not a test, a check-in. I stepped a half step closer. The ballroom, the chatter, the donors faded to a low hum. No, I said. You are exactly the right amount. Her eyes softened. Heat rose in my chest, slow and steady. Then, she said, squeezing my hand, you should probably know something. What? I asked. I like you, she said. Not because you saved my bakery. Not because you read contracts. Because when I stood up there and shook, you did not try to take the mic from me. I remembered her on the small stage at the community center. At this table. In her shop. Standing. I do not want to fix you, I said. I want to stand next to you while you fix your own world. She smiled. A full, bright, breathtaking smile that made everything else in the room look cheaper. Then take one of those, she said, nodding at the sample plate. I upgraded the salted chocolate. I added a new layer. I picked up a piece and took a bite. The flavors hit one by one. Dark chocolate. Sea salt. A hint of orange. Something warm and new under it all. This is better, I said. I am better, she replied. I nodded once. Yes, I said. You are. And for the first time in a very long time, standing in a room full of people who thought they knew me, I realized I did not care what story they told. I had my own. And she was in it.
If you felt good in this story, stay with us. Like, subscribe, and join me in the next one.